Welcome to day 10 of our 60 days Excel Mastery Challenge. Today, we'll be looking at how to remove blank rows in Excel. Let's take a look at this data set we have before us here. You'll find that in some places we have a complete empty row. In some other places, we just have empty cells spread across the data set. We will be looking at two easy ways we could remove empty rows from our data sets while preparing our data for analysis. Now, the most common way that people do is to click on the number, right, of the row, right click and say delete. Okay, so you see it's removed, but how long will you go through to remove rows in a large data set like that? So what we will do is to identify our identifier. For instance, we have date here, right? So we could say we want to use the date column as our identifier. If you come to this cell here in the date column, you see that it's empty. However, others are filled, okay? But what if we have concluded that whatever cell have no date, we are not interested in that entry. So we'll probably be looking at those entry as not correctly entered. So therefore, we'll be using this date as our identifier column. So click at the top of the column to highlight the entire column, right? On the Home tab, you go to Find and Select, click it, navigate to Go to Special here. You click it, then select blanks and click OK. Once you select blanks, you can see that Excel highlights in our identifier column every cell that is blank has been identified and marked for removal. So once this is done, head on to the cells group, click the drop down on delete, and then click on delete sheet rows. Once you click on delete sheet rows, you see that all of those empty rows and empty cells within our identifier column, the date column, has been removed. So let's head on to the second way we could achieve this. We will be achieving this using Power Query, okay? And to achieve this using Power Query, we will highlight our entire data set. Since we are using Power Query, it makes it more dynamic. So we want to leave some extra space to give room for data updates. So let's come here, basically giving this space for data updates, right? Let's come click here so that we highlight our data set. So we'll click on, we will hold Control Shift and Home on our keyboard to highlight the data set. Once the data set has been highlighted, we'll want to come to the name box. This box here is called the name box, and basically give this range a name. So it's one way to actually wrap your data in a way called name ranges. I'll come to this name box and call this range data1. While giving the name, make sure you don't allow any space, okay? So when you click on an empty cell or any cell, you will see that it gives you the name of the empty cell. But to show that we have appropriately named this our range, you can go to the name box and type the name data1 and hit enter. You will see that it will just highlight the range we named. While highlighted, you go to the data tab and then click from table/range because we want to get this connected to Power Query. So we'll click it and it takes us directly to Power Query. So it's loading the Power Query now. So our data is successfully loaded to Power Query. And you can see in the Home tab of the Power Query editor, you can see in Reduce Rows, you can then click the drop down on Remove Rows and say Remove Blank Rows. Once you click on remove blank rows, you see that it will delete every blank row that we have, okay? So now that we have removed our blank rows, we can just then easily load our data set back to an Excel spreadsheet. So to do so, we'll come to load, then click close and load. So we have it now in our spreadsheet, okay? These are the two ways we can easily remove blank rows in Excel.